guys, so today we're working on a Kawasaki 610 2009 model. It has developed an oil leak, and we're starting to tear down today. Going to see what we can do about getting it fixed. It's leaking right down under the jug where the side case meets the actual block, and so we've got to pull all the CVT and everything out, pull the side case off so we can replace that gasket. And just decided that I might document this in case somebody else has to do this job. They might see this video and find something interesting about it, and maybe something a little easier. I've already got the bed off, a little rigged up, but it's alright. And so we're going to start into it. Alright guys, so as you can see, I got the cover off of the torque converter or clutch assembly, whatever you call it. Took the bolt out of the engine side clutch right here. It's got two washers and a tapered washer on the end for tightening and loosening the clutch. To get the clutch off, you're supposed to buy a clutch removal tool, which I didn't have, nor do I have access to. So I just took this extension, about a 3-inch, quarter-inch drive extension, and dropped it in that hole with a screwdriver and pushed it all the way in there, and it bottoms out on the crankshaft. And then I took this bolt, which is about 3.5 inches long. It's a 1.5 pitch M14 thread bolt, and you screw it into the clutch down in there. The clutch has threads on it, and you're basically pushing against this washer, this extension, and pulling the clutch away from the crankshaft, and by doing so the clutch just comes off just like that. About to get started on the back clutch and see what I can do with it. So now you can see that we took the plastic cover off the back, and we also removed the rear clutch off of the transmission side. Took the plastic housing off, and that exposes your crankshaft and then your primary shaft going into the transmission. Our oil, you can see where our oil is all puddled up. It's coming from right, let's see, get my flashlight, right here where this side case meets the actual block, right there where it's real shiny. I don't know if y'all can see that. Right there is where it's coming from, and we're gonna crank it up and I don't know if you guys can see that on video, but you can see it splashing out right there. And so we're gonna take this little mount off and then pull this side case off and see about getting a gasket for it. Just a little something in case y'all haven't thought about it. If you ever have an oil drain that's in a kind of a bad spot or whatever, I always keep an extra quart can laying around, and then you can just cut it up and make a little funnel for it. See, I just cut the top out of it, the bottom, and used it as a funnel. This oil's got about 60 hours on it, I think. I try to change it anywhere from 50 to 75, so it's about time to change it anyway. But we got to drain it out to take the side case off. So anyway, just something y'all might not have thought about that you can use for a funnel when you can't get your regular funnel in there for a drain. Don't suggest for a fill, but for a drain it works just fine. So I got down here to where the side case is bolted up. As you can see, not all the bolts are in it. I actually took it apart, took it off, and decided that that is what's leaking the oil. That gasket has gone bad, and I stuck 4 bolts back in it. It has 8 bolts total, and I stuck 4 back in it just to hold it up there. And the guy that orders my parts for me, he said it could be anywhere from 2 days to a week, being it is 4th of July week, and that messes everybody's shipping up. So I guess we'll wait on parts and put it back together when they get here. Okay, y'all, it's been a week later. My gasket has come in. It is right here. It came with new bolts. It's a genuine Kawasaki gasket, which I kind of like. But anyway, I've got a rag over the crank and everything. I'm just scraping the old gasket off, making sure it's all clean. I'm gonna go back and clean it real good with a paper towel and some brake cleaner or something, just to clean the surface, make sure we got a good mating surface. And then the case cover is right here, and when you pull that off, or at least when I did, when I pulled the side cover off, the balancer came out. So just make sure you get that back aligned and in time when you put it back together, but we're not to that point yet. We're still cleaning right now, but we're going to get it back together here. Just another update. I got the mating surfaces clean. I got the balancer reinstalled. There's the timing marks. Let's see, right there. That's the timing marks on it to time it with the crankshaft. So got that all done, and getting ready to put my gasket on and slide it all back together and start putting everything back together finally. Just laid my gasket on there. I put some high-tack gasket sealer around it just to help it stick and make it go on easier, and about to lay it in there and put it all back together. Got the engine plate right here that mounts the engine to the transmission, and this little plastic shroud back around the jug. And it's going back together nicely. Just getting ready to put the cover back on for the torque converter, and then put the clutches in. Installing this, I just want to put out there, don't do this, because I did and I'm stupid. This right here is a vacuum line which powers the vacuum fuel pump, which is right there. Okay, the vacuum comes out of the crankcase right down in here behind this shield for the torque converter. You need to put that back on before you put this shield on in the clutches. I didn't, and I did it. You can do it, but it's very aggravating. You have to have 2 sets of pliers and a screwdriver and everything else, so it's very aggravating. So just make sure you do that before putting all this back together. Just cranked it up, pulled it forward and back, and everything seems to be working fine. Clutches seem alright. I'm going to run it for a little bit and see if they need to be tightened up or loosened. You can adjust them right here. It tells you how to tighten and loosen it and all that stuff, but it seems fine for me. But time will tell. We'll run it and see what happens, see if it eats a belt or not. I also do not see any oil leaking from the gasket that we installed, so that's really good. And just fixing to finish putting it back together. I got everything put back together. Got the clutch cover back on, the trim, the bed, everything back on. I rode it around the yard. Everything seems to be working fine. No oil leaks as of now. Hope it stays like that. But that being said, I hope this helps y'all if y'all ever have to do this job. Would not say that it is for somebody that's not very mechanically inclined. You do have to know what you're doing, what you're looking at. Somebody that doesn't could really mess up on something like this. So make sure you know what you're doing when you tear into this. If you're not very mechanically inclined, I would not suggest doing this job. I would suggest taking it somewhere. But if you handy with a wrench, totally doable, nothing to it, a little bit of time. This job's taken me approximately, I'd say 6 hours total, maybe 6 to 7 hours total. I wasn't pushing to kill myself, just taking it easy, doing it when I could after work, and it's completely doable. And these are just a couple other projects I got, and we'll be doing videos on those too as they come. Looking at getting another one here soon, so see how that goes. Anyway, hope this helps y'all. Alright guys, it's been about 3 months since I put the gasket on the side of the motor, and everything's going great. It's not leaking anymore. Runs great. I have not had to adjust the clutch. It has not messed the belt up at all. It is good on the throttle response.